Hey everybody, Jason Cooper here from Kickstarted with another Funded Friday, but actually this is coming out on a Thursday. But just because we wanted to give our guests a chance to introduce themselves to some new backers because we think his project is so cool. So without further ado, let me introduce Abel Charrow, who is the creator of Teedy Roosevelt, a historically inaccurate comic book, which is a comic book about our the former president and doer of many things, Teddy Roosevelt, and a personal hero of mine. So Abel, I will quickly turn it over to you. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what the project is and where the idea came from?
Sure. Thanks for having me too, Jason. I appreciate it. The book is Teedy Roosevelt, and it came to me as I was reading. Have you heard of the Edmund Morris trilogy? He's this biographer who did this three-part series on Teddy Roosevelt. First, the rise of young Theodore Roosevelt going up to the day he learns he's become president, and then the second book covered his time in office, and then the third book is what he did with the remaining years of his life as he left. And as I was reading the first book of that, I was just so overwhelmed with the larger-than-life character of Theodore Roosevelt that I couldn't not see him as a superhero, like we were just talking about before a moment ago. But it just seemed like a character I wanted to draw and couldn't get out of my head. So I started playing around with it, and first it was just a mini comic that I was doing at downtime at work, and then giving to coworkers and printing in the copier when no one was looking, and I just kind of over time developed. I do a lot of freelance illustration work and kind of wanted to see the process of how to make a comic book. And so this was I already had the material there and enjoyed it. And since it was mostly for myself, I was just kind of tinkering around for my own benefit. And when the thing was finished, I just wanted to share it, and people seemed to enjoy it. So that's why I brought it to Kickstarter. I think it was the right way to do it.
Very cool. And just before we get into more about the comic, this is the first time you've done a comic, right?
Yeah.
So what is your background?
I have a background in television, comedy development specifically. So I've been working on ABC shows is where I started. So I was at Scrubs through college, and then after that I went to Community, just working for the show runners there. And I was just surrounded by writers and very creative people who really it was just a fun environment, everyone kind of pushing each other creatively. And although I wasn't working in those often in a creative element, I would get to occasionally produce something for the art department. And just being in that kind of environment, you want to make something fun. So that's my background. It's not like I'm not traditionally trained or anything. I'm starting to take art classes now. But yeah, just always surrounded by fun ideas and materials to work with. So yeah,
so this is your first comic book. This is also your first Kickstarter, right?
Yes.
So this is your first comic and your first Kickstarter, and so people know it's up for the next, by the time this goes live, next 24 hours or so. Currently it's at just 199 backers, and you've made $4,000 against a modest $1,000 goal. So it's not like you've done this to become rich or go crazy or anything like that, but you've succeeded, and now you're going to be a published comic book creator. I'm wondering if this success, again, albeit it's not, game-changing, is it going to encourage you to do more? Are you thinking about taking this to the next level?
I would like to. I know I'm not polished enough, to do this at a professional level, and I definitely don't have although now I understand the very basics of it, in a very rudimentary level of how to make a comic book, like step 1, step 2, or whatever. But again, I'm outsider art as far as this whole realm is concerned. So I would like to learn more. It's definitely motivated me to I'm inspired to definitely approach something bigger after this. Although I don't want to think about that until I actually am certain I have this one under control. I was just before talking with you on the phone with a printing company that operates out of overseas to see if I could get printing costs down. Now that it looks like I'm going to be printing more than I initially intended, and my goal wasn't to make any money off this. I just kind of wanted to share the project, and before I even considered Kickstarter, and I just had the basic the files. You know, I had drawn everything and scanned it and colored it slightly, and then went around to a bunch of different like independent publishers, seeing if anyone was interested. You know, a bunch of different publishing houses, and most people didn't get back to me. A couple of people were kind of encouraging, and then there was one publisher out of Oregon, Artistically Defined Press, who was run by a writer, Ryan Bradley himself, who just wanted to get material out for the sake of being able to share material and promote his friends and promote good writers he found, and like a lot of writers have come out of there and gone on to do impressive work. And I learned about them from a FlavorWire article, and so I sent a cold call email to him, and he responded to it and kind of talked me through the whole process, and he was the one who encouraged me to do Kickstarter. And so after the Kickstarter is over, they're going to handle distributing it. It'll still be like self-published, but he'll help me get into like a couple brick-and-mortar stores around the country, which will be fun. I think that'll be like the really kind of the moment where it becomes real as soon as someone actually buys it off a store, or I lose money because no one's buying it off. But yeah, I mean, this was just kind of it's a fun way to be able to promote the project before that step. Yeah, I mean, again, $4,000 is fantastic compared to my goal, but it's still basically just covering the costs of printing and shipping these and putting little packets together for all the backers.
Yeah, and it's you have some great rewards, and they're affordably priced for what you're getting. I feel like you get the book, you get some posters, there's some hand-drawn artwork, and so I think people will be excited to check that out. I'm curious as to what your if you had to sum up your Kickstarter experience, like what has it meant to you? What has it been like? Sum it up in like 3 sentences. What was the experience like for you?
It was surprising, I'd say. I think that would be. It was like I was introduced to the community of crowdsourcing, I guess, and I didn't realize just how big of a community Kickstarter is and how many people are interested specifically in it on like a philosophical level. Like people are here because they like independent projects and like supporting independent art, and there are people who are going through the pages and like just looking for things casually. And I had always only had a relationship with it of like, I have a friend who's in a band, or I have a friend who's making a short film or something like that, and I thought it was like a great platform to be able to share a project in a very organized way, something that you'd be looking for this kind of funding, or being able to pre-sell something so you could at least just put it into circulation or something like that. But I hadn't thought about it as a community until I actually put out my thing and, was just monitoring on the app, as people were sending messages and interacting and like looking through. And then I found myself browsing like the different popular, the staff picks and like getting the emails, and I realized that like this is fun. There are a lot of different things I've been exposed to, and like in this month I've been splurging on like different other Kickstarters I see and I like, and find ones that are similar to my own, and I get excited about and curious. So yeah, that's more than 3 sentences, but in a word, it's been surprising, and in the second word, community, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, I think that's the sort of the benefit that a lot of people don't see, is they see it for the money. But really what you get is the support, and I'm glad to see that's sort of why you went into it and what you're getting out of it, because it's definitely a cool project. Okay, so last question for you.
Sure.
What is your favorite Teedy Roosevelt factoid?
Oh boy, that's a good one. This is lame, but it's the one that immediately pops in my head. Did you know he coined the expression "good to the last drop"? Like for Folgers? It's Folgers, right?
Yeah.
They offered him some coffee when they were starting off the company. Like he was somewhere where they were making coffee, and they're like, "What do you think of this, President?" And he said, "Oh, it's good to the last drop." And they're like, "That's it. Put that on a T-shirt." And that's him. That's one of his things that he said.
He's done so much, and I'm the same way. I read those the biographies of him and was addicted to his cult of personality, because he's an incredible human being, and I'm super stoked to get the historically inaccurate version in comic form. So for anyone that's interested, the project is only up for like another day or so. by the time this video go live. Again, it's called Teedy Roosevelt, T-E-D-Y, Roosevelt, a historically inaccurate comic book. Abel Charrow, thank you so much for joining me. And there it is.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it, and good luck with the movie and everything.
Thank you.